Hello, you beautiful individuals. Today, we are taking a look at a channel called Young Earth Creation, or apparently it used to be called RawMatt, I guess. This is an older video, I believe. Yeah, it's from 4 years ago. He has a lot of videos on his channel. I've looked through a couple, but it's it's all pretty ridiculous, that's for sure. Actually, you know what? We need to hold on 1 second. We need to look at something. Okay, sorry, but I wanted to look at his actual channel for a second because, as you see, I kind of went shortly through a couple videos just to get an idea of what I'm looking at here. And yeah, man, this guy, he's something else. He's apparently, from what I've gathered from other people talking about him and just see from his own channel, that he's like either a partner or friend or whatever in cahoots with Standing for Truth Ministries nonsense. Donnie over there at his, that thing he does as a channel with the debates. Pretty much, essentially, it's kind of a channel for Kent Hovind to have debates on, to be honest. But I mean, he has other people too, of course. But yeah, they're all young Earth creationists. They're all ridiculous, ignorant, and have no idea what they're talking about. But the reason I wanted to look at his channel for a second is this right here, this video I've seen. SFT Ministries introduced the new biblical coin cryptocurrency. And we just gotta take a peek at this just real quick, just to hear how ridiculous this is.
What's up, everyone? I would like to introduce to you the biblical coin, the first ever ministry-based cryptocurrency. There is a 5% tax with every transaction, which goes to the ministry wallet itself. This coin was created and designed to be the safest around. 50% were burned upon creation. Liquidity has been locked and the ownership renounced. Make sure to check out our website for the full details, the white paper, and the roadmap. Also, stay tuned for our new game, which is in the works right now, which will allow you to compete in a once-a-month tournament for some free coins.
How exciting. Yeah, so, I mean, essentially, it's basically just a way for them to make more money, obviously, which, like, that's one thing, all right? Like, if you want to make your money, go ahead. Using religion and tricking people to believe this young earth nonsense and using all that to con people to give you money, especially through this cryptocurrency stuff. Like, look, if you're into the whole cryptocurrency thing, cool, whatever, do your thing. Please don't get this. Like, just don't. This has to be one of the most laughable cryptocurrency coins I've ever seen. But anyway, yeah. So this dude, Matt, he's something else. From what I can tell, so is or used to be a breatharian. These people that supposedly live on nothing but air, which that's a whole thing. He apparently lived an entire year eating only raw honey, which, I'm not going to tell anyone how to live their life or how to eat and stuff. I mean, I don't eat the best by any means, but not eating anything but raw honey, that just seems, I mean, we're humans, not Winnie the Pooh, but whatever. But also, he's had some academic fraud. He lied about publishing a peer-reviewed paper, and basically he just photoshopped some nonsense together to make it look like it was. Yeah, the thing is about him, from what I mean, I haven't watched a whole lot, obviously, just a few things here and there. He doesn't honestly sound like a complete idiot. Like there's a bit of things that he says and like how he explains certain processes about how the world works, or well, how he thinks the world works, I guess, that makes it sound like he almost kind of knows what he's talking about, and to a degree. Like, I don't know. it's just it's tough. It seems like he has actually studied things, like geology, whatever, evolution and stuff, but just obviously doesn't either believe it or doesn't understand it enough. But I mean, I don't know. It's, like there's part of it. He basically what I'm getting at is he sounds more intelligent than Ken Hovind when he speaks to a degree. I mean, he still sounds ridiculous, obviously, because of what he covers. But there's something there that makes me think that maybe at one point in his life he wasn't a complete moron. But I mean, now he is, obviously. So what does it matter? I mean, the dude ate honey for an entire year or something and believes you can live by just breathing air. So yeah, I mean, he's something else. But anyways, let's jump into this crazy video. Best proof: man found with dinosaur. So ooh, this is gonna be a thing. That's for sure.
Most people have never heard of the Ashley phosphate beds of South Carolina.
Actually, I weirdly have heard of that. I mean, I'm not super familiar with it, but I've heard of it because it's a very interesting, like site for fossils due to the fact that there's, I mean, a high number of them, but also a high number of like species, like different species, and like relatively, close together in the layers, I believe, if I remember right. I mean, this is going back a lot of years since I've even thought about this, but yeah, I want to say like things are fairly close together, and just like I said, a lot of very high variety of species there, which can happen for all sorts of different reasons. But let's see what his reasons are going to be.
Which is a shame, because it is the best piece of evidence to ever exist currently that man has lived alongside of dinosaurs.
No, it's not, because they didn't.
Without question. The Ashley phosphate bed is the largest graveyard ever found. This information has been forgotten by the sands of time, but I am going to bring it back.
It has not been forgotten. I mean, it's not like paleontology is a huge, area of study, and at least in American school systems, pre-college, like middle school, high school, that kind of stuff. But it's not forgotten. It's just it's a lot to cover when you're talking about fossils and all that. And yeah, I don't know. That's a weird thing to say. It's not forgotten.
Today, the Ashley phosphate bed is mined for its high quantities of phosphate, which is being used for fertilizer, so there is great money to be made.
Well, it's not just today, though. I mean, it's been mined like for quite some time. I mean, I believe that's part of the reason that they find human remains in there. I'm not saying human fossils, but like actual human bones and stuff. It especially mixed farther down in, because it has been mined, and obviously when mining can be dangerous and people die and their remains get left down there and whatnot, and even buried and all that stuff. But still, anyway, I don't know where he's going with this.
These sedimentary layers are huge, covering large portions of the Carolinas and extending into Florida all the way up into Canada.
I could definitely be wrong, but I don't know about the Canada thing. Does it really go clear up to Canada? Maybe, but that doesn't seem right to me. I don't think it goes that far up north. Someone definitely correct me if they know better, but I think that's incorrect.
Famous geologist at the time, Louis Agassiz, described the phosphate beds as the greatest graveyard he had ever known. The phosphate beds are so full of bones that it is believed by scientists that the phosphate itself is made from bone. So, if the Ashley phosphate bed is loaded with such an incredible amount of fossils as to cause the leading geologist and zoologist of his day to call them the greatest graveyard he had ever known, you should ask yourself, why has zero mention of this ever been brought up? The fossils...
What do you mean? It absolutely has been brought up, and it wasn't. He wasn't the last dude to go down there and dig this up. I mean, for one, it's massive. I mean, it is big. I don't know about going up to Canada, like I said, but also, I mean, I'm just kind of reading through some of this. Of course, you're gonna go with Holmes. Look, Holmes. Well, he made definitely some contributions, but he wasn't. For one, I think if I remember right, dates back to like the 1800s. So paleontology was not as advanced as it is now. But more importantly, he wasn't like, it wasn't perfect at his job. That's for sure. But anyway, just reading through some of this other nonsense he has on here. Oh God! All right.
Completely ravaged the evolutionary timeline. That's why.
No, it didn't.
Remember, if the geologic column is out of place, even in one area on Earth, then it falsifies the theory of evolution. And
no, it absolutely does not. Okay, for one, your geologic column thing. All right, everywhere on Earth doesn't, like, the layers don't get, placed down over billions, millions of years exactly the same way as they do everywhere. I mean, some places get virtually not zero, but very little, like space in between what you call layers. I mean, they get very little sediment laid down. It's just, due to all sorts of different reasons, of course. I mean, I can't go through every single one, but, erosion being part of it, the environment that it's in, how the world's changed, obviously, throughout the billions of years it's been around. Tectonic plates shifting, like not everywhere shifts like other places do, and that's a very dumb thing to say. I mean, the whole reason that this place is so interesting is because it has such little, or such, not very, I guess, thick is probably not the best word, but thick sedimentary layers. It doesn't get a lot of sediment laid down over the billions of years that it's been around. But, just going back to the whatever 100 or so million years ago when dinosaurs were around and stuff. So that's very ignorant, and of course a very stupid thing to say, just to try to show that your young Earth creationism thing is legitimate, which is not.
That the layers form slowly and that they represent time. Well, when you look at this one place where there's an 18-inch thick layer, you will see why it's suppressed. In it are rare fossils of every...
I mean, you realize that, that alone, an 18-inch thick layer, like, I don't know if that's correct or not, but that's not a thick layer, my man. Like, that's very thin. Clearly not a lot of stuff is laid down there. And, if this was caused by a flood, you think things would be laid down fairly consistently. At least not, things would get mixed up and stuff. But at least the amount of sediment that has been laid down, you'd think it'd be fairly consistent, especially if this was a quote-unquote worldwide flood.
Everything from whales and porpoises, fish, sharks, megalodon shark, toads, crocodiles, alligators, turtles, rabbits, monkeys, horses, camels, elephants, mammoth, mastodon, rhinoceroses, giant sloth, muskrats, deer, pig, dogs, hadrosaur dinosaurs, iguanodon dinosaurs, plesiosauruses, ichthyosaurs.
Oh my God, dude, you don't have to list every single animal you think has been found there. Jesus criminy.
And human bones, teeth, and artifacts, all within the same layer. Professor S.F. Holmes, the paleontologist and curator of the College of Charleston's National History Museum, described the fossil graveyard in a report to the Academy of Natural Sciences. He stated, "Remains of the hog, the horse, and other animals of recent date, together with human bones mingled in, with the bones of mastodon and extinct giant lizards. And this is on record.
Yeah, but see, right there, I mean, of course you're gonna quote mine people. Again, Holmes, like, not not like dismissing his work by any means. It's just, I swear, if I remember right, he didn't even have a proper, like, I don't know. Anyway, never mind. Doesn't matter about Holmes. But the quote mine there is ridiculous. Like, these young creationists always do this. They find these quotes and then just to get them to try to fit in with their ridiculous worldview. Did you miss the part where you said of recent remains mixed in? What does that tell you? Like, that tells you that clearly these fossils were not very far down, simply partially due to, mining and stuff going on there, but also due to the fact that sedimentary layers do not get laid down as thick there. So you had things that died on top of these fossils, and then things can get pushed down, and oh God, it's just, this isn't this complicated to grasp, and you just goes right over your head. Forget what I said earlier about him sounding somewhat intelligent. I take all that back. Some of the videos I watched, or partially watched of his, I thought he somewhat sounded like he knew what he was talking about certain things, but this cancels all that out. What a moron.
Occurrence of a hadrosaur dinosaur remains in the Ashley phosphate beds has not been dealt with in the secular science literature really at all. Only 2 sources exist. They have kept it silent, which is typical.
2 sources? Oh, maybe he's just talking about the particular whatever dinosaur. I was about to say, because there's definitely more than 2 sources about the Ashley phosphate beds. Like, there's way more than 2 sources. Honestly, I imagine there's more than 2 sources even about that particular dinosaur remains, but,
The sad part is, when they first uncovered the relics of the human bone, they immediately became afraid. They, without hesitation, considered their jobs to be at a loss, so they said that the bone was out of place to one another. They immediately threw it in the river to be erased from history and hidden from all view.
Okay. For one, maybe they did. Honestly, I have no idea if that's true or not. Even if that is true, okay, and even if it's true exactly how he said it, that these quote-unquote paleontologists from the 1870s were afraid and threw these human remains in the river, that in no way credits what you're saying. For one, you act like nobody has ever looked at the Ashley phosphate beds since then, which they have, of course. And more importantly, even if they got so afraid that they threw these remains in the river, it doesn't change the fact that these remains were not, they weren't, fossilized there with the dinosaurs. Like, especially if they were bones. I'm sorry, but they were bones. They weren't fossils, but they were bones. Like, they didn't fossilize. I don't know. I haven't heard of this people throwing the bones into the river thing, but honestly, I doubt it's either misquoted terribly or maybe he's just straight up lying, but chances are he just misread or got his information a little screwed up, probably because he got his information from another creationist, either video or website.
They knew that such a find would cause them to either probably lose their jobs or their grant funding. And this is all the way back in the late 1800s. They were still in fear of the government from evolutionary dogma, as Darwin's theory had now taken hold.
Bro, no. Oh my God. Evolution theory is taking hold. Look, if they were afraid of losing their job and their money, it's again, I don't know, but if that happened, it's not because they're this evolution dogma taking hold, like this evil thing. Oh dear God, this dude is something else.
The scientists who studied this knew exactly what they had found. This is why they're deep concerned for finding such anomalies. Professor of Geology and Paleontology F.S. Holmes believed in the conventional evolutionary sequence. So he knew full well that humans and dinosaurs should not be found in the same layer. In fact, he wrote, "Not long after finding the above-named relics of human workmanship and engaged in our usual visits to the Ashley bed, a bone was found projecting from the bluff. Immediately in contact with the surface of the stormy stratum, we pulled it out and behold, a human bone. Without hesitation, it was condemned an accidental occupant of quarters to which had no right, geologically, and so we threw it into the river. Alas, we have lived to regret our temerity and rashness. A year later, a lower jawbone with teeth was taken from the same bed, and now we have it in the cabinet." After the news became public, I guess Holmes saw no reasons to cower from his discovery anymore, as Holmes portrayed a dinosaur with a man on the cover of his own book. Evolutionists have admitted that if dinosaurs are ever found with humans, then they would admit that the Noah's flood was real and that man did live alongside of dinosaurs.
Okay. No. That's not true at all. Just for one, you won't find human fossils and dinosaur fossils of the same age. It's just not possible. But more importantly, if it's like that, one wouldn't automatically make Noah's flood true. We still don't have any evidence for a worldwide flood. Have evidence all around the world for various catastrophic floods, but not a worldwide singular flood. Just different floods that have taken place around the world, because floods happen, just not worldwide floods. But more importantly, like, again, this Holmes dude, you can't take his work, all of his work at face value. Like, especially to the late 1800s, like, paleontology was not, it was not where it's at today, even a little bit. I mean, I don't remember what the date was exactly. It wasn't like the 1840s or something that the word dinosaur became a thing. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but still, my God, you creationists, man, like, you just take the most ridiculous things to try to turn it into evidence for your weird worldview. You're nearly as bad as flat earthers. Not quite as bad, but very close to as bad as flat earthers.
And that the biblical timeline is true.
And, more importantly, if this flood thing happened, why in the hell do we not have human remains with dinosaur remains all over the world? Why do we not have all these animals? Because if this young Earth thing was real, all right, and the world's 6,000 years old or whatever it's supposed to be, surely, if this flood that happened about 4,000, 4,500 years ago killed all these creatures, these dinosaurs and mammoths and, whatever, whales and humans apparently, that all lived at the same time, why do we not find these remains everywhere? And why wouldn't there be, just so many more of them? I mean, surely, if that's how you think fossils were created by a worldwide flood, why do we not have, why is the world just not absolutely littered with fossils? I mean, in everywhere you dig, or at least, digging down far enough to the supposed flood that happened 4,500 years ago, or whatever it was exactly. I mean, instead you find what you'd expect to find, like certain areas that are more fossil prone due to the conditions at the time, and other areas where they weren't, and fossils extremely far down in some areas and not in others, due to how many layers they are and how thick the layers are and all that stuff. But no, instead you find what you would expect to find if things happened over hundreds of millions of years. Like, things aren't exactly consistent, because that's just not how science works. But, you want to ignore all the other stuff and just focus on something you think helps you prove young Earth.
because this evidence would validate that the Earth is young and that they had been lied to about our ancient history. There is no rescuing device for them, either, because the Ashley phosphate beds had no layers to them. All of the fossils are mixed together in one huge pool of bones, 18 inches thick, covering 200 miles, with no layers found anywhere. The experts who spent considerable time excavating in the phosphate beds have said that there are no layers, and not even a remote resemblance of a layer. It is...
Yes, because it's not that. It's just that, oh man, I'm not going to say it again. Forget it. I mean, what's the point? It's obviously, no actual young Earth creation is going to listen to this far in.
all one graveyard. You can learn more about the Ashley phosphate bed in a book called Man, Dinosaur, and Mammals Together, written by the late geologist John Watson.
Yeah, of course. And you can learn more about it from presumably a creationist book instead of looking at all the other evidence about it and all the other paleontologists and stuff that looked at it that aren't creationists and that tell you actually what's going on there. But no, instead, look at this stupid creationist book.
Available at Mount Blanco Fossil Museum. A statement from the book says, since remains of land animals and sea animals were found together, a catastrophic event would have included the burial of enormous numbers of animals, and their subsequent conversion into the rock phosphate over a region of at least 200 miles by 30 miles in extent, which is only partially exposed apart. Such an event is of the order and magnitude of the worldwide Noetic flood.
So absolutely a creationist book. Man, that one was extra painful. I mean, a lot of these creationists are something, but man, that dude. I tried to give him a little bit of credit in the beginning, but yeah, forget all that. He's an idiot. And it's just, I don't know. It's just something else. These people, they just, like, not only do you nitpick and quote mine your own freaking Bible and pick and choose what you want to fit your narrative of the current day, but then you do it with, actual science to try to fit your bizarre narrative. And then again, you ignore essentially just the rest of the world. And I don't know. Anyway, that was, that was something. So thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Hit the bell for the ring-a-ling-ding thing. And until next time.